The morning sun spilled softly across the sprawling city skyline, painting gold on the glass towers that reached for the heavens. Among those towers stood the offices of Daniel Hart, a man whose name commanded respect in every boardroom it entered. He was a millionaire entrepreneur, the kind of man who seemed to have everything: success, wealth, prestige. Yet, behind the closed doors of his penthouse, Daniel carried a silence heavier than gold. That silence was his son, Ethan. Ethan was 6 years old, bright-eyed, beautiful, but silent. He had never spoken a word in his life. Doctors had called it selective mutism, others suspected autism, but to Daniel, it was an unsolved mystery that haunted him every single day. Daniel had lost his wife in a tragic car accident 3 years ago. Since then, he had been both father and mother to Ethan, doing his best to fill every void. Yet no matter how many toys he bought, how many therapists he hired, or how many experts he paid, his son's lips remained sealed, his eyes locked in a world of their own. Daniel's life was one of control and precision, but Ethan reminded him every day that not everything in life could be controlled. That morning, Daniel had a meeting in the city and decided to take Ethan along. Perhaps a small change in scenery might help, he thought. After the meeting, they stopped by a little diner on the edge of downtown, a place Daniel would never have stepped into before. It was simple, cheerful, and smelled of freshly baked pie. Inside, the checkerboard floors gleamed, and the red booths gave a warm welcome that the millionaire hadn't felt in a long time. A young waitress approached them with a gentle smile. Her name was Lily. She wore a blue shirt and a white apron, and there was something about her eyes, soft, patient, kind. She noticed Ethan hiding behind his father's arm, clutching a small stuffed dinosaur. "Hi there," she said warmly, bending to the boy's level. "That's a cool dinosaur you've got. What's his name?" Ethan didn't answer. He looked down, avoiding her gaze. Daniel sighed quietly. "He doesn't speak," he said, trying not to sound defensive. "He hasn't spoken in years." Lily nodded gently, not pitying, but understanding. "That's okay. We don't need words for everything," she said softly. "Sometimes smiles work better." She pulled a small sticky note from her pocket, bright yellow, and drew a simple smiley face on it. Then she placed it gently on the table in front of Ethan. "This little guy says hi," she whispered. Ethan looked at the note curiously. His small fingers touched the paper. Lily smiled wider. "See? He understands smiles. That's the first language of the heart." For the first time that day, Daniel's stern face softened. He wasn't used to strangers treating Ethan with patience. Most people gave him looks of confusion or discomfort. But this young woman didn't seem bothered. She saw Ethan, not as a problem, but as a person. As Daniel watched, Lily knelt beside Ethan, pulling another note. On it, she drew a sun. "This one says, 'Good morning,'" she said cheerfully. Ethan's lips curved, ever so slightly. It wasn't a full smile, but it was something. Daniel felt his throat tighten. He couldn't remember the last time he'd seen his son react like that to anyone. When Lily walked away to take another order, Daniel whispered, "You liked her, huh?" Ethan's little hands clutched the smiley note tightly. Something stirred inside Daniel, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. Hope. They began visiting the diner often after that day. It became their small ritual. Every morning, Daniel would bring Ethan there before work. And every morning, Lily would be waiting with a new note, each with a simple drawing, a heart, a star, a tree, a bird. Each time, Ethan would study the drawing, point at it, sometimes even mimic its shape with his hands. "Wow," Lily would say, "you're getting good at this." Daniel watched these moments quietly. He had spent fortunes on therapy, yet it was a humble waitress who found a way to reach his son. One rainy afternoon, as the diner buzzed with quiet chatter, Ethan did something unexpected. When Lily drew a heart on a sticky note and said, "This means love," Ethan pointed at her, then at his father, then at himself. Daniel froze. His eyes stung with tears he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Lily noticed, her hand pausing midair. "He just said, 'I love you,'" she whispered. Daniel nodded silently. He couldn't speak. That night, Daniel lay awake thinking about what had happened. All this time, he had been searching for solutions in clinics and conferences, but perhaps what Ethan needed was not therapy, but connection. Someone who saw him beyond silence. Over the next few weeks, Lily became more than just a waitress. She became Ethan's friend, and slowly, Daniel's too. They began spending more time together, even outside the diner. At the park, Lily taught Ethan how to blow bubbles. At the zoo, she showed him how to mimic animal sounds. Each day, Ethan responded more. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Lily handed Ethan a new note. This one had a smiley face, just like the first, but this time she said, "Do you remember what this means?" Ethan nodded slowly. He pressed his finger on the paper and whispered, almost inaudibly, "Smile." The word was soft, shaky, and small. But it was a word. Daniel's heart stopped. His breath caught in his chest. Tears filled his eyes as he fell to his knees beside his son, pulling him into a trembling embrace. "You did it," he whispered. "You spoke, buddy, you spoke." Lily covered her mouth, eyes glistening. It was a moment that none of them would ever forget. From that day forward, Ethan began speaking little by little. One word at a time. Sometimes he would whisper them to Lily, sometimes to Daniel. Each word was a victory. Daniel began to see Lily not just as the waitress who helped his son, but as the person who helped him heal. She had taught him something money never could: love, patience, and the language of the heart. But as things grew brighter, a shadow loomed ahead. Daniel's company was expanding overseas, and he was being offered a position that would move him, and Ethan, across the world. Could he leave the woman who helped bring his son's voice back? That question haunted him as he watched Ethan laugh with Lily one afternoon, drawing doodles on napkins. He realized then, his life had always been about building empires. But maybe it was time to build something else. Something human. Something real. As the day ended and they left the diner, Daniel turned back once more to see Lily cleaning the counter, humming softly. He didn't know it yet, but that small diner had already changed his life forever.